Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody. I hope you're blessed. I hope you're having a good time. I hope it is well with you. My name is Catherine, and I'm blessed of the Lord. I am doing great. I'm happy, and I have the peace of the Lord, which surpasses everything. And today I started a series that's titled "Does David Know?" And I thought it would be important to share it with very many people. It will be important to share my lessons and God's lessons to me with people, because I think the now generation is the David generation. But do we really know? Like, do you really know what God has called you to be? Do you really know what God expects of you? Do you really know? And so I will focus my center of everything in the story of David, because David is a great man in the Bible. He was in the family, in the genealogy of Jesus. He was a man after God's own heart. He's the best psalmist. He's the best worshiper. He is a man that we read about him in very different scenarios. And that's the now generation. That's what God has called us to be. But do we really know? Do we really know what God expects from us? Do we really know what it entails to be David? So I will start with where the Bible starts in the book of, I think, First Samuel chapter 16 or 17. 16, where God sent Samuel to go and anoint David. And I was thinking, God knows everything. God knew that when Samuel goes there, he was not going to find David in the first 7 times. God knew that Samuel would not have thought that David will be king. God knew everything that happened that day. God knew. But I asked myself, why did God let it happen that way? Because he's God and he knows everything. He would have directed Samuel to where David was, and he would just have anointed him, and that would be it. But I realized that just because Samuel anointed David did not make David king. And the problem with us and the problem with this generation is we realize and we know that we have an anointing over our lives. But the problem is your anointing does not make you king. Just because God sent the man of God, just because God sent his servant to you to anoint you, just because God sent a prophet into your life to speak into your life, does not make you king. Does not make you a preacher, does not make you a worshiper, does not make you, actually everybody's a worshiper, does not make you anything more than what you are right now. It just makes you chosen. It just makes you the chosen one of the Lord, but it does not mean you are king. It does not even mean that you deserve a title. So today, my question is, does David know what he is and what he's not? Does David know what God expects of him now that he is anointed? Now that he knows that he is anointed, now that he knows that he is the chosen one of the Lord, does David know? Because if David does not know, and if David does not act the way the Lord wants him to act, then David is going to miss the mark. And if David misses the mark that God has for him, it's okay. God might bless David. God might walk with David. But it will change the trajectory of a whole nation. It will change the trajectory of everything that God had destined for him. So this is what I'm going to tell you. Just a few keynotes. 1, you are David, and with every David, there is a Saul. You are David, and there are 7 brothers ahead of you who are stronger than you, who are better than you, who are fighters, who are way ahead of you and better than you in a lot of things. You're just the youngest brother in the family. You're just a shepherd. But do you know, or do you see yourself through the eyes of God? Do you see yourself how God sees you? Because I was thinking about it, like, if I was anointed, I would not have cared about Saul. I would not have cared about anybody else. I probably would have tried to move into the palace or something because the Lord had said. And that's actually what many young people in this generation are doing. We forget that there's a Saul and he's still king. But just because we feel from the bottom of our hearts, from the depths of our bellies, that we have a calling, we forget that there is a Saul. And Saul was called by God, and Saul was anointed by God. And yes, God does not like Saul anymore. Yes, God has rejected Saul, but Saul is still the king. And so it got me thinking. David has to learn to submit to a leader that even God has rejected. He has to learn to submit to a leader that even God himself has rejected Saul. But David has no choice but to submit. David has no choice but to submit. It does not matter if you're anointed. It does not matter if you have oil. It does not even matter who your leader is. All that matters is your submission. All that matters is you submitting to the authority. The Bible actually says in the same book of Samuel that to obey is better than to sacrifice. To obey is better than sacrifice. The same book in the same book of Samuel say that rebellion is a sin just like witchcraft. So I'm trying to bring your mind into the aspect of it does not matter how crazy Saul is. It does not matter how entitled Saul is, but at the end of the day, you have to submit. Yes, that's one. But the second thing, just because you're a shepherd does not mean you're not a warrior. And God is choosing a David to fight Goliath for the people. You have to realize that as much as you're submitting to Saul, the people are leaning on David to kill Goliath. So yes, submit to Saul, but remember that without you, Goliath is gonna keep persecuting the people of God. That everything that is fighting against the church right now, that everything that is standing against the church right now is waiting for David to realize that he has been called by God to fight on behalf of his people. And David, do you know that just because you're a shepherd does not mean that you're not a fighter, does not mean that you're not a warrior, and you have to get out there. Fight for what's right. Fight for the word of God. Fight for the truth of God. Yes. One more thing. There's no peace in being David. Don't expect, let me tell you something. Let me just make this easier. I was thinking that if I get a good construction guy, that the house will stand. But I realized that if the architect gave the construction guy the wrong dimension, it does not matter how good the construction guy is, the house is not going to stand. What am I saying? I'm saying that if God, who is the author of your life, does not have you don't give him the chance to make the right dimensions for your life, even though you walk through the way that he expects you to walk, you're gonna fall because you don't have the dimensions that God has for you. It's like a movie. Just because you have an idea of a movie doesn't mean it's a movie, doesn't mean it's ready to be produced. You still have to develop the script. You still have to go through the hard work of sleepless nights and everything to develop the script so that it can be a movie ready for production. What am I saying? I'm saying that to be David, you have to allow God to develop you for production. You have to allow God to give you the right dimensions for a good or for a firm foundation. And it's not cozy. It's not comfortable. It's not something that I would tell you today that to hold on and it's going to be okay. No. Because when you got anointed and Saul found out, and Saul is going to chase you everywhere, up and down. You're going to spend half of your life in the wilderness running up and down. You're going to spend half of your actually I think he even got married on the run. David got married on the run. And what am I saying? I'm saying that you are gonna be chased by Saul high and low. The man that you're supposed to submit to is gonna be chasing you high and low. But here is the thing, you cannot kill Saul. You cannot kill Saul. It does not matter how fast he chases you. It does not matter how much he hurts you. It does not matter how much he rejects you. It does not matter how much he uses you. All I'm saying is you cannot kill Saul. Just because the leader who is above you is not good enough, just because the leader above you is rejected by God, just because the leader above you is not right, doesn't mean you have the power. By the name of God, you do not have the power to even push them away. David had two chances to kill Saul, but he did not even touch a hair on his head. And every single time he said, I cannot touch a man that is anointed of the Lord. And I promise you, you cannot touch Saul. You cannot even touch a hair on his head because the wrath of God will be upon you. I know we live in a generation where the people who are above us do not get it. They do not understand that there is an easier way around it. They just don't get it. They don't get the same struggles that we're going through. They don't get, yeah, we go through different struggles from them. We are in a different time than them. We are different from them. And we might never agree. But I promise you, you cannot rebel against the leaders above you. If you are gonna reap all the benefits of being called by God, all the benefits of being chosen by God in this season, I promise you, you cannot rebel. Trust me, you cannot rebel, because if you even touch a hair on Saul's head, the wrath of God is gonna come on you like never before. But just because you know all that, I need you to understand something. You need to understand who Saul is. Saul is a liar. The first time that David had a chance to kill Saul, Saul said, I'm not going to chase you anymore. Yeah, it's nice. You saved my life, blah, blah, blah. I'm never going to chase you anymore. And still, he went back again. He went back again to chasing him. And Saul was at a bad place that he even went to a medium because God could not talk to him. So that's how much Saul is desperate. So God does not even speak to Saul anymore. So it's upon David to listen to the voice of God on behalf of the people of God. Church, my brothers, my sisters, what am I saying? I'm saying it is upon us as the young people, it is upon us as the now generation to listen to the voice of the Lord, because God is not talking to Saul anymore. You know, I was surprised that I was reading, I think it's in BT and MTV, when they said that a couple of years, like 50 or 70, I think, I'm not sure, they say that the church will be extinct. And I was thinking, yo, what are you talking about? Because my God is the Alpha and the Omega. So if it starts with my God, it ends with my God. And there's nowhere that my God has said that the church will come to an end. And not unless you know the word of the Lord, things like that are going to set you back. Not unless you know who your God is, things like that are going to set you back. So, David, you got to listen. You got to have your ears open. You got to be sensitive to the voice of the Lord. Yes, you got to be sensitive to the voice of the Lord. You got to listen. You got to listen. So, I'm going to tell you something else. Give me a minute. Let me look in my notes and tell you. You are not a king. You are anointed. You were chosen by God. But you are not king. And even though Saul dies, I think I'm not sure what chapter of First Samuel is, but even after Saul died, his son became king over Israel. And so David just became king over Judah until he had to conquer the son and conquer that so that he could be king over Israel. What am I saying? I'm saying it's not easy to be David. It's amazing to be David because it has amazing benefits to be David, but it's not easy to be David. It's not easy at all. So pray about it. Ask God if you're in a position where you are under a person who probably is not okay. I don't want to say he's not right because he's right. Saul was right for David. So it does not matter who you are under. It does not matter where you're laid by God. I just want to say this. Seek the face of the Lord. Listen to God and ask Him about the calling over your life. Ask the Lord what it means to be you. Because in this season, we need a generation that is strong. We need a generation that's courageous. We need a generation that knows who they are. I just need a couple of people who know who they are. I just need a people who know from the bottom of their hearts who they are. It is good to whoop, and it's good to not whoop, hope, whatever. It's good to have a style of preaching. It's good to have a style of singing. It is good to have all that. It is good to have it going. All I'm saying is, as much as we're doing all this, don't miss the voice of the Lord. Do not miss the voice of the Lord. Don't get caught up in the politics of our churches. Don't get caught up in the charade in our churches. Don't get caught up in the charade in the world around you. But listen to the voice of the Lord and follow His precepts. I always say that the precepts of God are a prescription to what I have and to what God wants me to be. It's a treatment that God is treating me to be right for Him. The precept, the word of the Lord is a dose that I have to take every day. It's a dose that if I miss it, then I'm not gonna be better. I'm not gonna be okay. So stick to the precept of the Lord. Knowledge is important, and not every knowledge. Know what God says about you. Know what God expects of you. Know what God demands from you. Know how you should walk, how you should talk. Know everything, every single thing that God expects of you. So that was the introduction to my title, Does David Know? And I hope from the bottom of my heart that it blesses you, because we live in a time where I don't even know if you miss the call of God of your life. A whole generation might fall because of you. So be sensitive to the voice of the Lord. Pray, read the Bible. That's all you gotta do, by the way. Being a Christian is that easy. Pray, read the Bible. Pray, read the Bible. But anyway, I speak the blessings of the Lord upon your life. I speak the blessings of the Lord upon your lives. May you have increase. May you just get there. Go to the world. I am out of words. I am pumped up. I had a really amazing day, and I'm pumped up for the good things that God has in store. But don't lose sight of what God has for you. So have a blessed week, and I will see you next week, probably same time And yes, be blessed. I love you all. Bye.